Hey, I'm Matt with Let's Talk Music, and I'm here with Kyle from A Monarchy. Let me spit that out. How you doing,
Yeah.
buddy?
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Doing great, man. First off, I really want to ask this question because I get a few people that have done the same thing, but you're a Berklee graduate,
Yes.
and can you tell the listeners how much hard work and talent it takes to even get into Berklee, let alone graduate from there?
Yeah, so it's a lot because it's funny because during my audition, I actually broke a string during my audition, funny enough, and I thought I was absolutely screwed that night, but you got to know like a lot about music theory, not like a tenfold, but you got to know like a little bit about it. You also got to like know your instrument on on a really good level because it's a 30% acceptance rate.
Right.
And actually, it might be lower now. I don't know. It keeps changing. When I went there, it was about like a 20 to 30% acceptance rate. So I'm, you also got to know how, because they also do an interview as well with you, like to see like how you are with socially, because music is all about networking now.
Mhm.
It's also about mastering your craft, but it's also about networking. It's about all the people you meet. So I guess they want to try that out. They do like a little bit of a test in your audition, like to see how you jam with somebody, see like what your skill is level, and then they do an interview. So yeah, it's definitely, you got to know a lot to get into that school. So I was really fortunate to be able to go there.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you're in some good company. I mean, you got the guys from Dream Theater, you got Alex Skolnick. I mean, there's a line of talented musicians that have played went to that school and graduated. So my admiration and congrats on that.
Thank you so much,
So
man.
I mean that's kind of like, going to Ivy League, Harvard, whatever. So
Yeah, thanks. So like I said, I when I got my acceptance letter, I screamed like a little girl
I
for
bet.
like 5 fucking days.
Oh, I bet, man. I
Because
mean,
that was honestly like, once you got that acceptance letter, I was like, that's the only fucking choice you can make.
right. Yeah, that's awesome. So speaking of being in jamming with somebody,
Yeah.
you moved from the East Coast to the West Coast in search of like-minded musicians, and you found, the other two members of your band.
Yeah. So I'm actually originally from LA. Like I was born and raised in LA. I just went to school in Boston. Then I moved back to LA.
Okay.
So so I actually met our bass player Sam in Boston. We met through mutual friends at a nightclub or something, or it was a bar in Boston. Then we were friends long before this band started, and then we actually had a different drummer before then. And then he moved to Boston, from Boston to LA for the band. He did one show with us in December 2019. That was our first ever gig. We had a lot of stuff planned in 2020, and then guess what happened?
Yeah.
So so that whole year got scrapped. We didn't, and then our drummer had to move back to Boston for personal reasons. And then we got a new drummer that I met on an online ad, and we just hit it off tremendously. And so the way I usually like to do things, if I'm meeting a new person, I usually like to meet them in person first, see how we talk. Then I
Mhm.
like to jam with them, see if we connect musically.
Right.
Because having a personal relationship and a musical relationship, you gotta have both when
Right.
you're doing this. And me and my bass player, like I have a really personal relationship with, his name is Sam. And I could literally talk to this guy about anything. And it just makes our onstage chemistry like so much better. So same with Tony, our drummer now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a it is. It's like being in a relationship.
Totally.
It,
Totally is.
a brotherhood as family. You guys are, jamming in rooms together. You're going into the studio together. You're hitting the road together, and I mean that's all got to be with people that you can get along with.
100%.
Otherwise, it's never gonna last.
Yeah, no. And yeah, we do have disagreements from time to time, but we always like work through this because we were friends before the band.
Right.
Yeah. And actually Sam left for a little bit, but then he came back. But we were still friends throughout the time that he was gone.
Gotcha.
So yeah, like our friendship will always come first.
And that's awesome. I mean, like I said, that's one of the biggest keys in that. relationship, is the
Mhm.
friendship, and respecting each other, and
Absolutely.
it's like I talked to a band yesterday from Sweden,
Oh,
and
nice.
they was like, there's no room for egos in our band.
No, absolutely not.
And that's what I said. I said, man, that is like the biggest, band killer there is an ego.
Yeah, totally. Because like every band breakup that you've heard, it's all egos. Like Guns N' Roses is like the one I can think of at the top of my head.
Oh
But
yeah. Skid Row.
like, don't even get me started with them.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
I know that's a sad story.
I know. But so we was talking just a little bit before I started recording, and you said that, you know, you called it a monarchy,
A monarchy.
a monarchy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. A
No,
monarchy.
you're good. You're good.
Because monarchy was probably already taken tenfold. So
Yeah.
um explain to me how that all came, how that name came about. Like you guys came up with that.
So I'm really into like royal names. Like I got it from the band Queen because it's that's like a really normal name. I mean that's like a really royal name, not normal name.
Right.
And I wanted to like get something like kind of like close to that. So I was like monarchy. And like you were saying, yeah, that name was probably so many times. So I'm like, what if you just put an A in the beginning of it, like a monarchy, like it's one nation, one kingdom, one world? Because a lot of our songs are about like coming together as one people. Like we have some political songs. We don't take political sides. Like
Right.
we have a song called Menace, and it's basically just saying fuck you to both sides
Yes.
because we're so divided in this country right now. So that's kind of so that song kind of represents like the name the most for now, probably. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And I also listened to Unknown Reckoning.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. That reminded me of old school metal. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking like late 80s, early 90s metal.
Mm,
And I was really digging that vibe, man, because that's what I grew up in.
thank you, man. Yeah, that song is very, very inspired by Black Sabbath. It has a very Sabbathy tone to it. And that was actually the first song that we ever wrote together as a band. So I've had that riff, the down, in my pocket for so many fucking years. And then we wrote the rest of it like in a jam session pretty much. And then I always like write the musical melody to it. And then I write the words and like try to compress it later. But yeah, that I always call that the very first song that this band has ever like released and recorded and like came up with.
So now I noticed when I was looking at the YouTube videos,
Mhm.
both of those songs were the videos were done a year ago.
Yeah.
Yet you guys just released your self-titled album on what was it, the June
It was
10th.
yeah.
So I mean, was it because of the pandemic, or was it because of just logistics? Well, I mean, what kept you guys, a year apart from the videos?
So those were our very first two singles that we released. And we actually recorded Unknown Reckoning, the music video, a little bit before that. This was a very slow process, recording this album. We'd started before a little bit before the pandemic. Then the pandemic put a lot of stuff on hold, and then we resumed it. And we were trying to get all the other songs done, but we wanted to get two singles out there because we wanted like people to like know who we are and like
Right.
that we have music, that we're not just some band just like performing without any music out there. We wanted to get those two singles out then while we worked on the rest of the album. And then we were like, these songs totally, it would be kind of bad if these are our very first two songs. They should go on the first album.
Hmm.
And so that's why we decided to put it on there because we were still like making a lot of the other songs and we just wanted it to be like one. And we're planning on releasing some more music videos too. We actually have one more made already. We're just figuring out the logistics on how to release it.
Are you able to say which song that's for?
Yeah, it's Man in the Sky. So that's definitely the softest song on the album. That song, I lost my father in 2015 in a plane crash.
Oh shit, sorry, man.
Yeah. So that song's about him. And he owned a helicopter company. And we filmed that at the airport, Van Nuys Airport, where my mom took over that company, and she's literally been like the saving grace of this band. She's been so supportive, and so we shot that music video there, and that's going to come out soon.
Oh, see, and that's awesome to hear, man. I appreciate you sharing that with me because it's
Mhm.
Yeah, I know that kind of stuff is really hard, and for musicians, you put your emotions and everything
Mm,
else into your music. So to be able to put something like that into a song and
mm.
do the video, what at an airport after what happened. I mean, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, we have to do something with this. And I've had that song written for not that long. I mean, I've had the title in my head and I've gone through different, it sounded so differently like way back in the day. Then I just decided, I was like, what, this is how it should sound. And I just started from scratch and called and then just released it like that.
cool. So the album is 9 songs.
Yes.
I'm not sure of the length of the song. So is it an EP or LP?
It's an LP.
Awesome, cool. So I mean, Kyle, it just like, I mean, what made you start all this? I mean, what made you just say, "Hey, I want to go to Berklee. I want to play music. This is going to be my life."
Yeah. So as I was talking about my mom earlier, she's been the biggest supporter of me pretty much since day one. And I didn't know what, like, back when you're a kid, you're still trying to decide what you want to do. I went through so many things before I decided I wanted to be decided I was a musician at around 8. And the way that happened was because I heard Green Day on the radio for the first time. I American Idiot was the very first full length album that I've ever listened to.
Right,
And then I feel like my taste got a little bit heavier and heavier. Then I discovered Metallica. And then I was like, okay, this is my fucking purpose. And Metallica has been one of my favorite bands ever since. And it's been one of the biggest inspirations of this band. And I've wanted to always learn how to play like Kirk Hammett. He's one of my biggest guitar heroes ever. And then a little bit later, I started to appreciate James because I was a guitar player long before I was a singer. Well, I started out as a singer, then I was like, you know what, I want to focus on guitar. And then recently, like as the band was forming, I was like, I don't trust anybody to sing my song, so I'm gonna fucking do it.
right.
And so then I started to appreciate James's playing because he has, I think, the best right hand on the face of the planet.
Oh yeah,
And so our band is really inspired by that. And like basically, I credit Metallica to making me want to be a musician. And then my mom was looking into stuff. She's like, she was the one who told me about Berklee, which she called it like the best music school. So I
hmm
was like, you know what, I'm gonna go there soon. And then I did everything I could. And then, as I was telling you earlier, I broke a string in my audition, but thank God I still got in. That I was scared shitless after that.
yeah, yeah. I be honest with you. Metallica's one of my favorites of all time. Also,
Yeah,
I think I heard what was it? Master of Puppets was the
yeah,
first song I ever heard by him, and I was hooked. And then the first actual cassette tape that I owned was the Garage Days 598 EP,
right. Yeah,
which
yeah,
that thing's out of print now, and I don't know what the hell happened to it. So,
yeah. That's like the long lost Metallica EP. It's an EP, I think. Yeah.
right. So,
But
I mean, what's your favorite album?
I go back and forth, but right, by Metallica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Ride the Lightning because I think that's like the most flowing. Ride the Lightning was the very first guitar solo that I actually was like that I actually struggled with for so long. No, this is the second one. Enter Sandman was the first one. Then it was Ride the Lightning.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Master of Puppets, man. I think every song on that album is just amazing.
Yeah, but Master of Puppets, it's their neck and neck. They're very neck and neck. So sometimes I say Master, sometimes I say Ride the Lightning. Right now I'm in the right. Right now I'm in a Ride the Lightning mode for sure. But
So
tomorrow, ask me tomorrow, I might be in a Master of Puppets mood
right, or I mean, I
or
really,
Justice mode.
I was gonna say I really enjoyed Injustice too. So
Yeah,
that came out when I was in middle school, I think.
I wasn't alive during any of these albums.
So I
When
mean,
all these albums got released, I wasn't even born yet.
well, thanks for making me feel old, man.
Oh, snap.
So I mean, you got the album out now.
Yeah.
What's tour plans?
So we're still working on that, but right now we're just focusing on playing in LA. But we don't want to like tour to a bunch of spots where that people were gonna play to bars for like 10 people or something. We want to like distribute the album first,
Hmm.
see like what cities will have us, and then we'll go play in those cities. But we would love to fucking tour around the city, around the states, or around the world even. But right now we're focusing on LA because we got a pretty big crowd here. We just had our album release show at the Whiskey Go Go, which was one of the best nights of my fucking life, to
I
be
bet,
honest.
man. That's that place is legendary.
We played there a few times. We opened up for. Do you know who Smith and Kotzen is? It's Adrian Smith and Richie Kotzen. Adrian Smith is the guitar player for Iron Maiden.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they played their very first show at the Whiskey, and we got to open that. And every single show that we play at the Whiskey, it's just like, are we really fucking here? All my heroes have played at that venue.
Did you get to meet them guys?
I got to have a conversation with Adrian and Richie a little bit too. And Adrian was like the nicest guy. He kept saying, like, dude, thanks for coming on. This is like our very first show. This is the very first time I'm on stage since the pandemic and all that. And we were just like, I was like, oh my god, I'm talking to Adrian right now. This is just amazing. And then after that, I took the most awkward picture known to man with him. But he was really cool about it. Like we shook hands, we had a really nice chat, and I had a chat with Richie too. And he was like, I made a joke on his dressing room because I think they spelled his name wrong.
Hmm.
No. Oh, sorry. They spelled our name wrong on our stage, and then he made a comment. He's like, they spell my name wrong all the time. Don't even worry about it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's a place I would love to go. At the Whiskey, the Viper Room.
Yeah.
I mean, every city's got their, legendary venue. Like ours is the Newport Music Hall.
Right.
That is actually the oldest, longest running rock club in North America.
Oh, damn. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I've heard of it for sure, but
Yeah, and I mean this place you go in there and it smells like beer and urine and it looks like it's falling apart, but and it is when I actually got to do a live interview there and walked across the back of the stage, man, and I got goosebumps the entire time because I'm thinking of all the people that stood on that stage.
wow,
I mean,
yeah.
shit, my brother, he's about 20 years older than I am, and he actually got to drink a beer with Angus Young.
Oh, no way. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
they were sitting at the bar, and he went up and said, "Hey, man, great show, this and that," and they sat and drank a beer together. And I'm like, that was in 1978. I was two.
Mm.
So,
Wow, that's unbelievable. Just like all these iconic venues. And we actually just played the Viper Room. We played it a few times since then, but we played it in December of 2022. We were opening up for this guitar player named Michelangelo Badio. He's
mhm.
the guy who plays two guitars at the same time. I don't know if you know who he is.
I don't think I've heard of him now.
He's okay, yeah. So we were opening up for him, and I was at the bar with some friends. Then I have a friend come up to me, and he's like, "Yo, Bruce Dickinson is at that table over there." And I'm like, "What?" Bruce Dickinson is the lead singer for Iron Maiden.
Right.
And then sure enough, it's him. And then I had a night, and then I went up to him. I'm like, "Yo, you've been our biggest inspiration. I don't know if you saw us play. I couldn't really hear because the music was really loud, but we talked for a little bit, got a picture with him, and he was just a really nice guy. I felt like I known him for a long time after a 3 minute conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that's one of the I think one of the best lineups I had seen. Um, it was Ronnie James Dio, Motorhead, and Iron Maiden
Yeah.
played here in Columbus, and I was like, "There's no way I'm missing that."
Mhm.
And I mean, just three iconic bands. I mean, Ronnie's like 4'8", and
Yeah.
belting out like that, and Lemmy was, people were like Lemmy is God, and Maiden. I mean, it doesn't matter where they're playing; they're putting on some kind of theatrical show.
I think they are one of the best live bands on the planet.
Oh yeah, yeah. Outside of Pink Floyd, I seen Pink Floyd in '94, and my God,
Hmm.
that I still can tell you like different things that happened there that was so amazing. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I mean, I that's really cool that you get to play in them places and that you get to meet some of your inspirations and your heroes.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. It's pretty cool, but like it's And I know, and I'm very fortunate to have lived in LA originally and then come back to LA because LA is like probably one of the places you want to be if you want to be a musician. I
Right.
think Nashville and Austin are probably up there as well, but
Hmm.
because for when people leave Berklee, they either go to LA or they go to Nashville.
Right.
But for me, it's like I have family here. It's like, and why would I not? So it's I know because LA has like a really big music scene, so I'm just like I gotta come back here.
Now, is it still as big as it used to be with like, streaming nowadays instead of like, I remember being in LA and seeing oh, what was that? Tower, was it Tower Records?
Is it Capitol Records?
Capitol Records, yes, the round building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing that, and I just thought, man, that's so cool, thinking about how many freaking people had, been in that building.
Mhm.
And I mean, with it being more streaming now and not so much putting out cassettes, albums, CDs, whatever. I mean, is the music scene still pretty booming?
It is for sure because it's different, but I think it's still like the place you want to be if you want to be a musician because all the places that you play, like all the local places, like the Viper Room, the Whiskey, like even some other venues. There's this place called Harvard and Stone that I always like to play at. Like a lot of people in the music industry and like all because they have a lot of like record labels in LA
Mm-hmm.
that go to local shows, and if they see you, it could be really good.
Right, right.
So I try to go out I try to go out a lot to concerts and try to go out to like networking events to try and meet these people. And I think LA is definitely really good at that. So I think it's good. It's still just as good. I think it's just really different now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, it's kind of always been the place, I mean,
Yeah.
look at some of the bands that were discovered at the Whiskey. I mean,
Oh
Molly
yeah.
Crew and,
Van
just a,
Halen.
right, a handful of bands. I mean, it's there's not too many places. I would say maybe now I've done quite a few interviews in New Jersey or
Mm-hmm.
with people from New Jersey, and New Jersey is booming pretty good right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, it's everywhere, man. I mean, and that's what I love about this is that, these publicists, they'll send me a press release. I'll listen to the song and I'm like, oh, cool. I'd like to talk to them. And, I get to meet people from all around the world. I get to experience different cultures of music. I mean, one band I did was actually a band from India that was a folk metal band,
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
and they were amazing. And I mean, they've got one of the highest views on my YouTube channel.
Oh no way.
So yeah, I mean, it's just I feel like people are more open minded today. I know I am, because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can't do this and be closed minded. But I
Yeah.
mean, people are more open minded today when it comes to music. As like, oh, it's not just Avenged Sevenfold or let's say Volbeat or whatever. It's people are experiencing new cultures of music, and that's what's awesome about it.
Yeah, and I think another big thing about that, I know we live in a very different world, but Spotify and Apple Music playlists have definitely made discovering bands like a lot easier
Yes.
because I people could say what they want about it because yes, there everything does have its pros and cons, but I've discovered a lot of bands that I listen to regularly now because of like playlists that I put on. So that I will definitely give them props for.
So what? I mean, Kyle, what is it that like inspires you to just keep plugging away at it, man, and doing this every day? I mean, I know that there's probably been times that you've ran into walls and you're like, shit, you know.
You will, yeah. So what it keeps me going is just like because I don't know how to do anything else other than play music. And I'm just like, this has to fucking succeed, or else I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. And so that's what keeps me going. And I have so many people that I know that would just be so disappointed in me, especially my mother. I keep bringing her up. That would just that would just be so disappointed in me if I just gave up. So I'm just like, I'm not just doing it for me, I'm doing it for everybody.
Right.
because I don't want to let anybody down, and my father as well, because he would not want me to stop too, and he's always looking down to make sure I keep going.
That's
So there's one line, "Man in the sky, how can I make you proud? Man in the sky, I can't scream that loud." So that's kind of in a reference to that in a way.
hell yeah, man. I admire you, man, because I know how this when I first started, I thought I was kind of unique, and then I posted a video, and then there's like 5 million more people doing it.
Mm,
So everybody's like, oh, well, you have to come up with some kind of unique concept, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be a YouTube billionaire. I just want to talk to musicians, learn about new music, and that's
mm.
that's my thing. And it's like I want to, when I put the interview on YouTube, it's not just for my benefit, it's for your benefit because it gets out
Absolutely.
to more people.
Yeah, complete win-win situation for everybody.
Right. So, all right, man. Well, we were just about out of time.
Mm.
I greatly appreciate you being on. I will look forward to that new video.
Mm.
And man, just don't, like you said, don't give up. Keep plugging away.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. Really appreciate that. It was awesome talking to you.
You too, sir. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right. Bye.